What is going on, everybody? Eric here, and you're listening to the Unlockables podcast, episode 3, the story of video games, the people who play them, and the memories made along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, wherever, whenever in time and space you might be located, always appreciate you taking some time out of your week to check in with us and see how we're doing. But I'm not going to waste any time on that because I'm very excited. I have amazing guests waiting in the wings here, introduced to you right now. If you look up the phrase, name a more iconic duo, I'll wait, in the Webster's Dictionary, you'll see a picture of these two fine gentlemen. These two gentlemen, keepers of the lists of the List Off podcast and noted Funky Kong conspiracy theorists. It is Brian and Ryan from the List Off podcast. Guys, how you doing today?
Doing
Pretty
well,
good.
man. Yeah, doing good. Thanks
Glad
for
to be
having us.
here.
Thank you guys so much. So I'm going to start off the questions right away. When did you decide to switch from a list-based podcast to an anti-Nintendo podcast?
Oh no.
Recently, actually. It's funny you should mention it.
I was going to make it easy on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't think we've done an episode where we just crap on one company until our Nintendo episode. So I could definitely see why it would seem like we're picking on them specifically.
Well, we're picking on them because we love them and we know that they can take it.
Yeah.
That's what I've always said. But yeah, anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming on and joining me in this new project endeavor. I knew as soon as I started this and I kind of nailed the format down, I was like, I have to get Brian and Ryan on. It's got to happen. You guys were some of my first friends I made podcasting, and I've had the pleasure to be on your show. And before I put side questing on hiatus, my biggest regret for that was I didn't get a chance to have you guys on. And now I get to remedy that. So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys taking some time out to just sit and chat with me and talk about video games, which I know we all love. So
Yeah. Thanks
It'll be
again,
fun.
man. Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yes.
I hope it lives up to your expectations.
No, it's
Since
going to be freaking
I already
awesome,
messed
man.
up the intro, so.
No way. It was perfect.
So I'm taking a cue from you guys and a couple other shows, so I just want to start off by asking you guys, what have you guys been playing lately? I think I might know the answer to this one for maybe, at least Ryan, maybe. So
Probably both of us, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
We'll let Brian go first.
Yeah,
So
I'll
ahead.
go first because it seems like it's the lesser of the two in hindsight now. But I've been just pouring into Horizon Forbidden West, and I love that game. I'm taking it first over Elden Ring because I know that Elden Ring is going to take over once I start playing that one. It seems like that is the generational open world game that we have never seen before. So, but this is about Horizon. I love that game. I love all the animation. I think it's the most beautiful game I have ever played, bar none. I can't name a game with better graphics, with better setting, and just those animations are killer. And I think I said it on our show last week that it seems like not everything is 100% handcrafted in terms of how the characters are interacting, but they make it work so well. And there are so many times that you're just talking to just like hundreds of characters over the course of this game. So I've just been really enjoying it. The gameplay continues to be just the biggest part for me. I know that it's very similar to some games, but it really takes it in a new direction. There's so many different times where I'm just like sliding and then shooting arrows, setting traps, and it's just such a fun time every single time you encounter even like the smallest enemy to the largest like tremor tusk at the point that I'm at now. So
You have run into those.
I have, yes. I took down the first one as part of the main story. I am going through the main story. Like, I have stopped for nothing. No side quests, no helping any character, even if they're in grave danger on the side of the road. I am just booking it to each main quest because I want to see everything, and then I'll probably go back unless Elden Ring gets me at that point. We will see.
It should.
I'm
yeah.
I'm sort of the exact opposite because I've been playing that as well, and it took me probably like 10, 11 hours to get out of like the main starting area before you get
Really?
into like the Forbidden West, because I was just like, wow, I'll just go to every single question mark and thoroughly explore this entire area before I even start like the main part of the game.
Right.
So yeah, you're definitely further than I am. I recently got to like the first tall neck, did that, so I'm still kind of like in that initial like right when you get into the Forbidden West, which I'm assuming is the Forbidden West.
Sure.
One thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say my only fear in doing that is I don't want to get burnt out because I know there are a lot of side quest things to do.
Yeah.
And I could see myself kind of getting tired and then maybe not finishing the main quest. And this Elden Ring, it's such a just monumental thing that is
looming
so scary.
behind us.
It is looming. That is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
And I want to get all my Horizon time in before it overtakes me.
I'm doing the same thing. One thing I wanted to ask you about, because it was something that I brought up when I had Dave on last week from Tales from the Backlog. One aspect of the Forbidden West story that I thought was really cool is we get to kind of see Aloy in like this kind of uncomfortable savior role that she's like been cast in, because she like basically saved the world in the last game. Spoilers. And so I just kind of think it's cool how like everyone continues to interact with her, and she's just like very uncomfortable when they call her savior, call her like,
Right.
you know, like the savior of Meridian. Very much like this reluctant hero. But then again, like everyone knows that she saved the world and what she's capable of, but they insist on continually getting in her way and just be like, hey, we know you did this before, but we're still going to make you follow our rules, when it's just
Right.
clear that you should get out of her way because she knows what she's doing. So
Exactly.
I
She's got
really
an
liked-
attitude this time around. Like she's fully formed and
Yeah.
will snap at characters if they are getting in her way, basically.
100% over it.
Exactly. It's so fun to see.
Yeah.
I'm
So I,
shocked at the spoiler. She didn't die in the first game. Are you serious? Like, thanks.
I mean, she died thousands of times when I played, so
That's
yes.
true.
Yeah, that's
Same
true,
here.
yeah.
I actually beat the first game and had the same experience.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So technically in the some timeline, she's not alive at all. So
Exactly.
Many timelines. More timelines she's dead in than her actually being alive and
Exactly.
victorious. So
It's that Doctor Strange one instance.
I was just
right?
thinking that the Doctor Strange the one time.
One last thing I wanted to say before I have to relinquish Horizon forever. I feel like the thing that happens in that first game is it's a mystery. You have no idea like what's going on and why are there robot dinosaurs. I'm clearly in the United States. But what happened? And that was the thing pulling you through. This game, I didn't feel like had it, but then at a certain point it does. And there's
Oh,
stuff
that's good.
that is happening that I'm like, okay, I have to find out what is going on. So stick to it because there is some cool mystery stuff going on.
I have theories about what is happening in that game, but I haven't played it, and like I don't want to say it in case it's accurate.
Totally.
But like I think it's probably easy to guess. Seems like it would be easy to guess what they're using as that string to pull you along in this game. To me,
Maybe.
and maybe I'm wrong. I kind of want to say it now.
Definitely gonna hopefully get to. Don't you say it, because if you're right,
Yeah,
I'll be
don't say
very
it.
mad. So, all right. Well, Ryan, let's hear it. It's inevitable. You've been playing a certain big game that came out, correct?
Yes, I've been playing a lot of Sifu.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
of course.
No, so yeah, you just heard from Brian and Eric, the only two people who remember the game Horizon Forbidden West, because it's been
I'm going to
overshadowed
bring it
by
up
another game. I'm kidding.
in Goaty, and you're going to have to listen to me all over again at that point.
Hopefully, I will have played it by then as
True,
well.
true.
It's not a game I'm trying to avoid, trust me.
Right.
But if I look a little tarnished, it's because I haven't been getting much sleep. I've been staying up late playing Elden Ring, and this game is... So, you know, it got all the 10 out of 10s and the high ranking review scores and all that. And normally I don't really go for that. I do use it as kind of a metric to gauge whether or not the game is like broken or performs well, or, you know, at least I know if everybody's positive on a game, it's probably good, regardless of how individual reviewers score it. I think people took... There are problems with Elden Ring, and 10 out of 10 doesn't mean a perfect game. It's generally thought of as a masterpiece. Unquestionably, this game is a masterpiece. I am a fan of FromSoft games prior to Elden Ring, so I think I was always going to enjoy this game regardless. And it's getting a reputation as being the most accessible FromSoft game, and in some ways that's true. You can find places to go to get quick runes, to level up your character faster, blah, blah, blah. But I had a difficult experience for my first 6 hours in it, and that's even with my familiarity with their other titles. I chose a prophet, so it's primarily a magic-based class that you do incantations.
The Harry Potter class, right?
Correct. Yes, you have a little wand with a phoenix feather in it. That's something that happens in those movies and books, right?
Might be crossing the streams, but yeah.
Yeah, don't ever cross the streams. Oh wait, that's a different.
Oh geez, oh no.
Gosh, oh my goodness, yeah. But it's yeah. So the first 6 hours, I struggled with this game, and it was kind of that. But I wasn't not enjoying it. It was exploration by finding out where I could go that wasn't going to kill me immediately.
Oh yes.
And being the magic-based class, you obviously lacked things like melee and good health. So I think there are those melee classes, those warrior classes that if you were to choose from the start, you'll probably have an easier time getting into it. But because of what I chose, it was like a slow crawl to begin with. By the 6th hour, it was like starting to hit though. I was starting to get my levels to where my magic was hitting heavier, and I could take out those enemies that once gave me problems with little issue. And then it just started steamrolling, and now I have like crazy incantations. And I think one of the coolest things they do with it in this, the magic effects in any of the Souls games were always cool, but I saw some of the early beta footage and I was like, okay, I've never done a faith-based build in any Soulsborne. I want to do it in this game because like I have to use some of these magic spells just based off of how they look on screen. And I don't regret it at all. I have now gotten some of these spells that are just a joy to use every time and take out like droves of enemies with. And yeah, it's great. It's very, gosh, I hate to be the cliche comparison, Breath of the Wild, but it does that organic exploration in a similar way. Like it just pulls you along. You see something around a corner or around on a horizon, and you're like, I want to go check that out. I have no clue what that is. The cool thing is that it's not like you immediately see everything and know, okay, I have 5 different places I could go. They do such a good job with mapping out your sight lines in this that I've literally had discoveries in the same section of the map that I've spent 4 hours in. And I'll just all of a sudden like turn around the side of a mountain and be like, wait, I never saw this. Like I probably went near it 5 different occasions, but I just never was in the right place to see it. And now it's like blatantly obvious this thing is there, and like, oh my gosh, what's in that building, or what is that thing? And I mean, FromSoft's always so inventive with their character design, and it has never been more apparent than this game. You come across these creatures and things in the world where you're just like, it's such a joy to see. You either literally like gasp, like, who even thinks of this stuff? Or you giggle because it's like one of the funniest things you've ever seen in your life. And yeah, I think I can't wait to play more of it. I'm probably about 15 hours in now. I don't think I'm anywhere near beating it, and I am not bothered by that whatsoever. Like, I just want to keep going. I just want to keep playing. I got into like the second area of the map, which is more of a typical Dark Souls dungeon, and it is done so well, maybe better than any dungeon was ever done in a Dark Souls game. And I don't know if that's going to be a controversial opinion, but I thought it was it's awesome. Yeah, love everything about it.
Wow. I'm glad it's living up to expectations, because when like the day or two before when I started seeing the universal scores coming out, I was like, oh man, like I knew it was going to be big, but that's like a tsunami. I'm happy it's living up to expectations. But I was very much in the same boat as Brian. When Zero Dawn came out, and the week after that Breath of the Wild came out, that caused me to miss Zero Dawn for 3 years. So I was like, I can't miss Forbidden West, because I just finished Zero Dawn in January for the first time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't miss it. And I've just never gone out of my way to play From Software games, which doesn't mean that I don't recognize their brilliance. I talked to Dave about this again too. I
listened to that.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you very much. I think when you look back on like this era of gaming, like the last however it gets classified, just how you can't tell the history of games, back in the 80s and 90s without Mario. I don't think you tell the story of the early mid 2000s of gaming without From Software. That's kind of the level where I think they're at right now, and it's really impressive. Even some more of their like controversial titles like Dark Souls 2 and Sekiro. Just constantly get this critical acclaim, and to do that for so long is, that's insane. To just put out something quality for that long is a testament.
I do agree with you. I think so. For me personally, I would classify the era as like the late 2010s, because they did have games out before then, but I think once Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 came out, it was like, okay, people started catching on and going back and playing like the original Dark Souls, which didn't have a ton of traction other than it was like a critical darling. And Demon Souls was the same way. So I think they really kept putting out a good product to the point where people had to stop ignoring it. And now it has this like cult audience within gaming. The one thing I'll say is, if you never played a FromSoft game and you're not really sure it's your cup of tea, I don't know if this will be for you. It's a great open world game, unlike any other open world game I've played, but it's tough. Like, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be like in some ways Breath of the Wild was difficult, but no, not really.
Well, Breath of the Wild was so approachable.
I think at first
caters
though,
to a different audience.
I think when you're figuring out the systems, there's some difficulty there.
Sure.
Like, you're blocked out of areas until you figure out how to get into them. And if you don't Google that stuff, like, you're on your own when it comes to that sort of thing. But this is a lot more difficult than that. Like, it's gonna be a tough go.
It's not that it's not my first From Software game. I played about like 75% of Dark Souls 1 and then just fell off just because I was like busy. And then I did play like roughly half of Sekiro. Yes, however you want to say it, yeah. I probably mispronounce it all the time.
I'm repeating it because I just listened to this today. So
okay.
I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know this. I know.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm just broken record. So if you just want to listen to all the podcasts, just listen to one episode and
come on.
You hear everything.
That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. But I think like beyond that, the scope of this open world is that it's not only what you see, it's not only what's, you have mountains and you have valleys, and that's kind of a big way the map is presented. But then, like, within those mountains, there are tunnels. And I think that's like the most impressive thing. There are just tons of caves and tunnels and catacombs. And so you're really getting so much more real estate than just the surface of the open world, because there's all that underground in there too. It's really impressive, man. Yeah.
And like I said, I just, it seems like it's definitely shaping up to be, it's very early in 2022 and we've still got a lot of great stuff that I'm hoping comes out this year. But this seems to be like a runaway early favorite for probably the best thing that's going to come out this year.
And we still have God of War and Breath of the Wild too. So
that's true.
There's more competition.
Which, if you would have told me that all that stuff was going to come out this year in 1 year, I would have laughed at you. But now, thanks to COVID, we're getting what's shaping up to be maybe one of the best years in a long time for games.
This is an insane year already.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as everything holds strong and nothing else, no more pandemic or world events related things.
Or World War III or anything like that.
I don't want to invoke that because
no, Keith I apologize.
No, it's fine. Keith did message me like after I put out his episode, and he's like, you started World War III with our episode, and I was like, thanks, Keith. I appreciate it.
No.
Start off strong here. So
I'm sure you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If I could offer any consolation, let it be that.
Like, no, we hate that redheaded guy on the internet in particular.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. into actually what this show is going to be about, and I want to talk a little bit about you guys and your show called List Off Podcast. And to do that, I actually want to tell you guys the story of the first time I ever listened to it. It was of recommendation of our good friend Keith. He's like, hey, check these guys out. And I remember to this day, the first episode I listened to was Top 10 Water Levels. And,
no.
Yeah, and at first I was skeptical. I was like, how can you make like I'm like, everyone hates water levels, so like, this can't be good. But it shattered all my expectations, and it was great. And I've been in love with the show ever since. So that's just kind of my thing there, and slowly working my way through all you guys' backlog too. So,
cool. Well, I think that's a good intro then. Like, yeah, listen to an episode where you think all the entries will be terrible, and hopefully we can overcome those expectations.
Right? We set the bar real low on that one.
Yeah, that's right.
And I never do the thing too where, for whatever reason, people like to go listen to like the first episode. I never tell anybody to listen to my first episode of anything because it's like, like quality the worst. It's like no, I always listen to something like in the middle or most recent. So
right.
I would say like the first few of ours could be skipped unless you're really interested in the subject matter, but don't judge us on that audio quality.
No,
right.
That was the main thing. I think I was dealing with some Apple headphones that are like from an iPod, it was bad.
Just yelling at your laptop mic, just hoping it picks up good audio.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys, the show's been on the air for what, like a couple years now, 2 years? Has it
Almost
been?
two,
Almost
yeah.
two. Yeah, July. 2 in July.
So I wanted to know, where'd you guys come up with the original concept for the show? How did you come up with Top 10s and List Off podcasts?
This is all Ryan, man. This is his baby.
Yeah, not really. So I used to stream like you did, Eric, and I really enjoyed it. I had my son, and he was a child, and I kind of felt like it was, in whatever small way, I wasn't streaming often, but it was eating into my time with him, and I was like, you know what, let me put this on the back burner. So I did, but I wanted, after about a month or two, I was like, man, I want to keep going. I want to like do something. I want to keep making content. I love talking about video games. I don't think there is a thing in that I'm this passionate about any media except for video games. I love everything about them. And I remember Brian had moved. He had lived around the corner from me. We didn't really know each other. His wife actually introduced herself to me because I was walking my son, and they have a son who's about the same age as my kid.
And you had a Zelda shirt on, I think.
And she had the Zelda tattoo, right? Yeah.
Right. Oh, man.
And so we started talking about what our favorite Zelda is and whatever. And then it was like, hey, we should get together sometime. And I think we went on like a neighborhood walk or something one day. This is years before List Off formed, and I asked Brian. He was talking about Uncharted being his favorite game series. I remember this vividly.
Really?
We're on that little cut through. If you go all the way to the end of 45th, you'll know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there's like that cut through into the next neighborhood. Anyway, and I was like, hey, would you want to do like a podcast or something with me? And he was like, no, I don't know if I really have the time. Like,
you asked me then?
I did ask you then. And you were like,
man.
You were like, no, I don't think I have the time. I don't really know if I'm that interested in it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I ended up asking another friend, and he said, no. I'm like, fine, like this just isn't happening,
Oh.
Well, a few years later, Brian and I had hung out more and, got to be closer friends, and we were both knew each other's video game tastes, and it was a regular subject of discussion between us. And finally I was like, look, I have an idea for a podcast, because I was also thinking like, I'm going to do it. I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to make a podcast, and I don't care if it's just me. And I was thinking, I don't want to do a podcast where I just talk about a video game or like video game news. There are a ton of those. So what can like my niche be, right? And I was like, oh, I can make lists. Like I actually looked. I wasn't able to find any list-based video game podcasts. And I'm like, this is insane. There has to be something out there, right? But like to my knowledge, there wasn't. So I came to Brian with that specific idea. This is a few years after the initial pitch. And he was finally like, yeah, let's do this thing. And I was like, really? And that surprised me, because at the time he had said no a few years prior, and this time he said yes. And I'm like, oh man, like this is cool. Now we're going to do it. And I feel like I've been talking for 10 minutes, but while the idea was mine, the name was Brian's, and the artwork is his wife's. So I am far from the sole contributor to list off, as you could listen to any one of our episodes and figure out for yourself.
Please tell your wife that, because that artwork that's iconic. Like,
Oh, she hates it.
She really?
So I created some like placeholder art, and she saw that and she was like, no. Let me take care of this. And then she like did that in like 10 minutes, and she's like, this will be fine for now. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this. It's like, futuristic and Jetsons, and like everything about it is cool. And she was like, I'll make you another one in the future. But I was like, no, this is the one. And a lot of other people tend to like it too. So we've been really happy with it.
Yeah, we were actually able to use the file she created to have somebody else animated it for our animation of our logo.
Right.
That's
so
cool.
It worked out. Yeah, it worked out really well.
She clearly knew what she was doing. And
she's graphic design by trade. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, excellent. And I mean, it's understandable, Brian. You can't like seem too eager right away. You got to like play hard to get a little bit. So make Ryan play like the year's waiting game.
I honestly, I don't remember any of that. Like, do you want to do a podcast at that point? I feel like I remember you talking about streaming and like listening to podcasts, but I don't remember you asking me like point blank about doing
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
Wow.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a spur of the moment thing, and then I
Wow.
ended up asking somebody who at the time I knew a little better.
Sure.
And he said he was the other one who said no, and I'm like, dude, like I know how my voice sounds, guys, but like we could do this,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, and thank you so much for telling me the epic origin of the story. That's so cool. I was operating under the assumption that you guys had like known each other like for years before this, and I guess it was a few years, but it wasn't like years and years. So.
Right.
I'd say we got to know each other so much better through the podcast. Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I consider Brian among like my closest friends now, and it's because I chat with him every week.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Likewise.
I would agree. Same thing kind of happened with me and my co-host Tom too. Is that we met through streaming because Tom lives on the East Coast and I'm here in the Midwest, and it's the same thing sort of happened. We were like in a Discord server together, and we had a lot of the same likes. We liked a lot of the same RPGs and tastes in games. We'd stream and play some games together, and then kind of when that all fell through. He still streams a couple times a week, and I don't as much anymore. But when that all fell through, I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, like, I want to keep doing something." Before that, I did an NBA podcast because I was a big fan of the NBA. So I tried my hand at sports entertainment, and that was that didn't go so great. But before that, I did a podcast that Brian actually ended up finding today. It's called "Blame It on the Lag." That's still up on Spotify, despite my best attempts to get rid of it and nuke it into the ground. Yeah.
Well,
so
it was pretty good. It was pretty good, Riptide.
Thanks. my old handle. When you're a hardcore streamer like that back in the day, you take on your persona. You're not your name anymore. It's whatever your handle is.
Yeah.
So
you want to hear bad decision making when it comes to streamer names? I was thinking like, alliteration, like play on words, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm a nerdy guy, and like nerds are into fan fiction, right? But I was like, but I'm trying to create a community, so I can make it a community of fans, so it could be fan faction, right? That was the worst decision ever, because most streams, like I'd pop in, they'd be like, fan fiction, what's up? And I'm like, God.
Oh no.
Everybody like got it confused with fan fiction all the time. So I went to Ryan Player One, which is
now they just write weird stories about you. So cool. Yeah, right. So with that name, if we're sharing, that was literally because at the time when I picked that name, I got locked out of my Sire account. My Xbox 360 Sire account was so messed up that I called Microsoft because they kept putting like restrictions on it, and like the parental features kept getting turned on, and like I couldn't turn them off despite knowing my password and my username.
Wow.
And I called Microsoft, and I was on the phone with them for like 2 hours, and they're like, yeah, we have no idea what's going on. Like, you just have to like start a new account. And I was like, great, thanks. Yeah. So I at the time I was like 14 or 15 or something. I don't know how old I was, but the Sick Puppies song Riptide was on. So I was listening to that, and I was also reading Percy Jackson at the time, and the name of his sword is Riptide. So that, super nerdy there.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. It was fell into place.
Yeah, but eventually I switched back to like I just made a new Sire account because I like that better. So
what was your gamer score that you lost? That's the real question.
Oh man, it was like It was like 40,000, I think, 45,000. So yeah,
stings.
it was bad. And then when I restarted, I was like, all right, I have to recomplete all the games I did. So I went back and I recompleted Fallout 3, I recompleted Skyrim, I recompleted Assassin's Creed 2 again. So
Nice.
it was because I had to. I was like, I have to do it. I have to have the completion on this new account. So
Right. Very cool.
yeah. So you guys have done a lot of lists over 2 years, more than I could ever come up with. So that's incredible. Have you guys ever had like a hard time coming up with like a list or a topic for a show, or is it like just like second nature now, where it's just like you've been doing it so long that anything you think of could be like a potential list now?
So I think in the beginning, I was having a hard time coming up with lists because I feel like I wanted it to be engaging every time. And we really put our minds to like, all right, well, is this going to be interesting for people to listen to, like that top 10 water levels? And then we started just like, okay, it's not so much about the list as much as the conversation around it, our personal stories with the games. And it became a lot easier to like either think of lists or think of lists that would be good enough to do a show around. And now we just have a ton of lists. I would say Ryan probably does 80% of the thinking on what lists we do.
This guy's generous, man.
In the beginning, I think we kind of like, I would be like, hey, what about this one? And then you would give me a couple, and it worked out really well. But now I just went to our Google Doc, and you have like 50 of them ready to go at any one time. So
I don't know if it's that many. It's not quite that many in the backlog, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I'll just all of a sudden an idea will pop in my head, and it's usually at like the craziest times. I'll be sitting down with a cup of coffee, or like in the middle of the night, I'll get to go up to use the bathroom because I'm old, right? I can't make it through the night without using the bathroom. I know. Hey, man, like you get to 40 and then we could talk. But no, and then I'll be
call
like,
you in 10 years.
I always take my phone with me. Because I'll be like, oh, this is a good idea. But yeah, I just think some of them have been suggested, and I always try to give credit when people recommend a list. I know I'm sometimes not always the best at that because, like, oh, real quick, I'll like put it in the Google Doc, and then I'll forget to put like who recommended it, and then the episode comes along, and it's like, this was a recommendation from someone. Yeah, so I do feel bad about that. If I ever forgot to mention anyone, just know you have my sympathy.
I'm surprised we haven't had to dip out of video games because list off, it's not solely video games. That's just what we've done so far, but we are willing to travel outside of that.
I do like hearing, Brian, you're very generous saying I come up with 80% of them, but I don't think that's accurate. And I do like hearing him say that at first he was going for engaging content, and I'm just like, we could do hairstyles, we could do like the best hairstyles in games, we could do whatever we want, like who cares? Because the biggest thing is I want to have fun, right? Like exactly. I want our show to be fun most of the time. I don't really try to get too critical or anything. Like video games are about fun, and I understand there's a dark industry behind all that, and like we do address that fairly frequently on the show as well. Go listen to that Nintendo episode, right?
But, yeah, screw those guys.
But yeah, I just wanted to be like kind of easier to listen to and a little less critical, and like it's what the conversation I enjoy having anyway. Like it's.
Well, and I think it invites people to like when they listen and see that headline, they're like, oh, I know what the top 10 soundtracks are, and then they listen, and they're like, what? These guys are so wrong. What's going on? or oh yeah, that one was really cool too. So
yeah, and I'd love that might happen. I wish people would reach out more when that happens. I mean, Eric, you listen, right, like fairly regularly. So do you ever go into an episode with those preconceptions? Like, I know what's going to be on here or what should be.
Yeah, I've definitely done that a few times, and yeah, I listen fairly frequently. As in, like, I start every Monday morning with your guys' show every week. So, but yeah, no, I definitely do that, and then I think I have like a list. I'm like, oh, like this has to be what it is, and then I'll listen to the episode, and I know I'll shoot you guys a message over your Instagram account, and I was like, this is what was on my list, but I thought maybe it could have been this, but I didn't think about this one at all. So like, it really does, like, as you're listening, at least for me, the way my brain works, it's, yeah, I'm like building a list alongside you. And then as you like suggest things, I'm like, oh yeah, like maybe that should be here and that should be there. So like I like build and like rearrange my list as I'm listening to you guys. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. So yeah, is there anything, and obviously like you guys said, being adults, like we have a limited amount of time, and obviously like you guys have said in your show before, like not everything on your guys' list is like stuff that you guys have like maybe not had time to play or stuff like that. So like, and I know you guys do a lot of research for the stuff that you like said you haven't played, or like you guys just do a lot of research in general, I think, because every single item on every single list you talk about very intelligently.
That is very
eloquently.
generous.
Yeah, that's extremely generous.
I mean, at least I think so. I'm sitting here, like, I listen back to my show and I'm like, wow, I just babble like an idiot about things that I think I know.
Stop,
so
whatever. I'm the guy who listens to your podcast and multiple others, some of which have been guests on your show, and I'm like, man, I am not too good with them words, am I?
Words,
like, these guys got it.
Right.
English can be difficult because, especially for me, my brain tends to think, or my mouth tends to run faster than my brain can like make words come out.
Sure.
So, but yeah, is there anything in like doing the research for the show or even playing things for the show? Have you learned about like your tastes in gaming over the last couple years? Is there anything that has like kind of surprised you about stuff that made your list, stuff that didn't make your list? Just have your expectations about what you liked been subverted at all? I know it's kind of like a multi-part question, but I guess I'm just trying to learn, like, have your views and your changes evolved over the years of doing the show based on like what you came into starting the show? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Words.
So no, definitely. I get what you're saying. The one thing I think it's helped me with is recognizing my changes in taste. Right now, I go for, really challenging games. I was in a phase prior to this where it was like first person or third person, but like very story driven, single player narratives. Prior to that, I went through multiple tastes through retro games, and I think what it does is it makes me look back at my entire gaming history almost every week and try to think of the games that I personally can put in every list. And it really shines a light on the fact that like all of our tastes change. We do not like the same type of game forever. And, every single game is a moment in time, right? I look back, I did early on really always try to include a retro game on my list. And sometimes that was forced. I kind of agree that games have gotten better. So with some of our lists, it's hard to include a retro game on there when they just don't really stack up to more recent offerings. But I was really trying, okay, I got to put like one retro title on there at least. And I don't really do that anymore because I want the list to be my list now. Like I'm not trying to please anybody, even if there are retro gamers out there, like, cool, I hope you find something you enjoy in our podcast, but I'm not going to force anything on my list. But yeah, I think as far as my tastes go, I think they're ever changing. I think that goes for most people who play video games, at least if they enjoy, I guess that's can't be true for everybody. Like there are people who like, hey, I like platformers and I will always like platformers and that will always be the type of game I play. And other people, it's like first person shooters is their cup of tea and it always will be. But for me personally, like I am always willing to dive in, try new things. And I love that the show now gives me an excuse to do so. It's like, oh, should I buy this game? Well, I do have a gaming podcast, so I absolutely should buy this game, right? And it got me my PS5 and Xbox Series X with the excuse that like, well, I have a gaming podcast. Like I need something to play these games on, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I think there hasn't been any particular game that has changed my point of view other than the fact that like I'm really lucky because I get to experience day one games a lot more often now. I think we've done a few episodes on dedicated to games and some of those were because we got the game like day one and we're able to play it. And that's something I didn't really do prior to the show. I would always let it go on sale or let the price go down a little bit and purchase a game. But now it's like, oh man, like I want to be the first to get my hands on this and I want to be the first to experience and I want to share that with people who listen. And yeah,
I have always done day one. If I'm excited about a game, I'm always there picking it up. I mean, that's what happened just looking back at Horizon and Breath of the Wild. I knew both of them were coming out. I knew I wanted to play both, got Horizon, and then did as much as I could before I inevitably had to get to Zelda. But yeah, I would say my genres are just recently starting to open up a little bit. We just did an episode on top 5 beat 'em ups, and those are games that I've like dabbled in, and many of mine were like Super Nintendo era or arcade era, and I never really liked them. But then I tried to play a couple more newer ones. So I played Streets of Rage 4, and that game was really fun. I could see myself actually like going back and having a good time with it. And I never would have like picked that game up, even though it's on Game Pass. I would never have spent the time to play it. And recently with Returnal and, Elden Ring, Returnal was a game that I didn't see myself really getting into. Like I knew that it was cool and I would like it if I put in the time, but it just seemed like such a daunting task to do. And then Ryan certainly helped me like, no, just stick with it, do this, do that. Here's some strategies. And then at a certain point, like I turned the corner on it, and then like I can get through it blindfolded, not blindfold, but you know what I mean, like way easier.
Challenge. You got to do it now.
Oh jeez. I mean,
and please
people are
stream
playing Elden Ring with their feet, so people can do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I saw one guy, not to interject, I guess one guy found a way to play it with like the Ring Fit controller.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just like, of course, like why not?
I actually had a similar experience with the Metroidvania episode, because I was like, wait a minute. All my Metroidvanias are either Metroid or Castlevania. Like, I really need to do something about that and explore new titles that I had not played up to that point.
And I mean, Dark Souls games can kind of slot into Metroidvania because it's, an environment where you're moving through it. And
we stuck with 2D games, though.
We did.
Come on, buddy. But I will say one thing I always try to do, and I'm sure it's the same for Brian, is try to include games I've played personally. Like, yes, we do our research, especially with some of the older games if we need a quick refresher and we don't have that game to play. But we almost always include games we play. I always try to, and I think I always have. And if for some reason the game that you would put on the list, Eric, isn't on there, it might be because we just never played it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, we haven't played everything. Yeah.
Right. I would think too that, just like you guys said too, before I started doing the podcast, like side questing and this, I was very set in what I was kind of playing. Like I played shooters all throughout college, and then I came out and I never played roguelikes until I started playing or doing the podcast. And I've moved away from more competitive based games to like things that other people are playing and things that other people have said are really good. And I think just the nature of like having a group of friends and listening to like that do podcasts and listen to podcasts has made me more accepting of like trying new things that I normally wouldn't have tried. I think a couple years ago, I probably never would have picked up Sifu. I probably, never would have picked up Hades and even played a roguelike, because I played Enter the Gungeon one time and I hated that game.
Oh no.
So, but yeah, but now I just think I'm going back and starting to play a lot of older games too that I missed, that I thought I would never go around and play. Like I played Final Fantasy VIII. I'm planning to play Link to the Past this year, which I can't believe I ever missed that game. So I just think like you said, having a gaming podcast is like a good excuse to do that. And just experience as much as possible, because some of the people that do these podcasts are like incredibly knowledgeable and have like played everything, and like and just to feel like I need the knowledge base, just be like, hey, I better play this, or I have more interest in playing this than I would have 10 years ago, and I just wanted to like shoot people in a game, not in real life.
Okay, maybe a little bit of both. Let's be real.
I won't admit that live, and if I do, I just cut that out. So
I definitely didn't suggest it.
Yeah, not a bad influence on me at all. It's fine. No,
but
that's great.
So I think I already gave you crap about Link to the Past on Twitter, so I won't do it here. But I'm really happy that you're playing it, dude.
Yeah, if you would believe this, I was not, until Breath of the Wild, I pretty much avoided Zelda.
Wow.
I didn't have any interest in it. I just didn't. It just didn't appeal to me.
Dude, the shock is shock. It's not judgment. Like, each their own. But like, that's wow.
It's like an envious shock to be able to play all those games with fresh knowledge. Like that's crazy. Like I would love to be in your position, basically.
I still have some big ones to do too. Like I've never played Majora's Mask. I've never played Wind Waker. So I have big ones that are on my backlog that I'm very excited to experience for the first time. So
Nice.
that'll be really cool. And I think I'll be able to come at them in a different light because I don't have the years of nostalgia that people do. But yeah, so I just missed out a lot on that stuff when I was younger. It was, you got like one game a year for your birthday and Christmas and you had to pick what it was.
Sure.
So, and I just never wanted to take a chance on Zelda. And by the time like Ocarina came out and I missed it, I was like, well, I already missed Ocarina, so there's no point to like try and like catch the caboose of the Zelda train.
You know,
it's gone now, so.
That's Final Fantasy for me. It's just like, all right, well, I played some of the early ones, but now there's like 20, and I'm not gonna like they seem cool. The remake seems cool, but
It is.
the train's gone. Oh well.
Nomura's driving that train now. Trust me, you can kind of pick and choose what stops you want to get on and off at. So don't worry.
It's true. That's unfortunate, but true.
So with 2 years down, you guys have a pretty good thing going, and you recently switched up the show a little bit. How you guys do your end of month mission reports, where you can talk about like a specific topic you guys want to talk about. What do you guys plan to do with the show in the future? Anything else, or just gonna kind of ride with what you guys are doing for now? Or
I think I kind of mentioned it before. Lists can open up to outside of the video game sphere, so movies, and I would have to read comic books to get on that side of things. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we haven't discussed music at all, and every time Ryan mentions like, oh, like this band, I'm like, is it a film soundtrack? Is it a game soundtrack? Because that's my forte. So yeah, I would be at the point of like 0, and that would be where I have to research, because I don't have this back catalog of knowledge of, I've been playing games for 30 plus years. So it would be like, all right, well, what are the essentials to this genre of music or this comic book series? And it would be a very different perspective than like, say, what Ryan would bring to the table. So those are interesting avenues that I think, like I said, we have like 50 lists of video game stuff still to cover.
Yeah, I think it's going to be video games. And the more I think about it, the more I think we'll stick with video games, because there are these lists that are evergreen. We're always going to have our game of the year, right? We're always going to have, we could even revisit some of these, right? We did our first episode, top 10 PS4 games. If we redid that, my list might be different now. And I think it would be an interesting thing once time sets in to maybe revisit some of those older lists, depending on what it is. But yeah, I just think there are always ideas, and hopefully we continue to get suggestions for new ones. And we kind of did that switching up of the format, adding that monthly episode, which initially was news, because it's like feast or famine sometime with the list. Like sometimes you have 50 episodes waiting, and there's been a few times where like, I don't know what we're doing next week. We'll have to figure that out. But right now we're doing really well as far as the ideas go. But we did put that episode in every month to kind of help the ideas last a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to talk about news and current events and be able to dedicate entire episodes to one game sometimes.
Right. It's true, because I do feel like it gives you a better sense sometimes of our stance on certain issues, which like when you're talking about a list, it doesn't necessarily come across all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you guys ever dip out of video games and do go into music, if you ever want to do top 10 mid-2000s pop punk bands, let me know. That's my genre. So
sure.
I'll come on for that episode for sure.
You definitely will. We would love to have you.
So do you guys have to wrap up talking about you guys' show a little bit before I move on to talk about you guys specifically? Do you have like I'm going to ask you to like make a list like on the fly here. Do you have like a top 5 like of your favorite like list off episodes you've ever done, or I'll
let Brian start.
Sure. So a couple things. As far as specific episodes, I would say my favorite to this day is still our music episode. I think I just am a sucker for soundtracks, and there's just so much good music out there in the video game space. And, we had mixed that episode with selections of the music, so you could hear it in the episode and kind of judge for yourself if it was up your alley. So that was a lot of fun, and that's one of those examples of an evergreen. Like, well, there's new music that comes out all the time in these games,
Dude,
or
not to
maybe we
interrupt
didn't.
you. That is one I would totally want to do over.
Totally, yeah.
Like,
I could see
absolutely.
that one being,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, new content and
Right.
and being able to mix it better and whatever.
That is one of my favorites too.
Yeah,
Just
it's a good one.
Yeah.
Whenever we coin a new term, a lot of podcasts do this. They have their own pantheon of inside jokes and things like that. But whenever we have a butt clencher moment, that is always a fun time. I feel like they always kind of just like come up organically, and then we like kind of giggle to ourselves, like, and then longtime listeners hopefully do the same. So those are always fun. I liked our conspiracy theories episode because it was just fascinating hearing Ryan had this whole diatribe about like, there's this one that was like, it happened in this part of the world, and then you had to go here, and like
Cicada
it was this
3301.
Oh yeah.
just super connected thing. But yeah, those are some of my top ones. Ryan, why don't you say something?
So I
before
prepared
die?
a list. Eric. I prepared. This is
go.
what I do, right? Who would I be if I didn't have a list prepared? So my top 5 list off moments, which are not specific episodes, but one that comes to the mind is dropping an F-bomb in last week's intro and seeing Brian's genuine reaction to it. Like, that is something that will always stick with me.
That was a legendary moment.
And he had no clue, and I was like, sure you don't want to know like what I'm going for with this intro? And then just seeing your face, man. Because we don't swear on our podcast.
Right, we're clean.
We're clean. We're a family-friendly show. And that's natural. Like, I think because both of us have young toddlers, like, we just don't swear normally.
Right.
So it's not like we're forcing ourselves not to swear. I just don't typically use.
Also, we are
I don't use foul
devout
language.
religious people.
Stop
I'm
it
just
right
kidding.
now, dude. You stop it right now. We are not devout religious people, but we do wash our feet.
I mean, Jesus washed people's feet, so I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the parallel I'm making.
right.
My number 2 is actually like Brian's. It's like the Funky Kong question, right? Weapon Lord. Anytime
Weapon
things
Lord.
like that get brought up on the
Right.
show, butt clenching.
Weapon Lord is a saga that
For sure.
that I'm so glad I got to experience.
I am too, man. And like Golden Age, like it's the golden age for this thing. We do have a lot of those like inside jokes, and hopefully listeners feel like they're in on that because they are, and like hopefully they like that. I mean, I like it, so I hope they do too.
Yeah.
It's weird because like you don't know unless people actually email you and say, "Hey, man, those butt clenching jokes are great," which nobody does, right?
It'd be a weird thing to email somebody about for sure.
Yeah. And then my number 3 is meeting incredible people like yourself, Eric, and having them on our show or coming on their show. No, I'm dead serious. Like, I consider you a friend, and I consider a few other people like really close friends, and I wouldn't have known them if we didn't do this, and that's pretty incredible to me. I'm not kidding. I love it. And then,
I don't take compliments well, so I'm
No,
sorry.
you're cool, man. No. You don't. You could just sit there and stare. It's all I need from you right now. Beautiful.
just dead face.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 4 is constantly being floored by listener support and feedback. This kind of ties into like the list ideas, or the messages you send on Instagram and other people send about our list, like where they think we messed up. Even the negative stuff, I love it. Like if people say like, how could you possibly have this game as your number 1? Like I eat that stuff up, man. Because I will tell you why. Like, and it's usually personal. And my final one is getting to spend time every week with Brian.
Oh,
Talking,
my goodness.
talking and joking about video games.
This is most wholesome
Beautiful.
content. I love it.
It's
this
the
is
truth,
great.
though, man. This is
Yeah.
what my top 5 list is. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to, if I could, weigh in on the Funky Kong controversy.
yes, please do.
Has it
You
been?
don't
It might
get
have
to.
been.
You don't get to.
Oh, do I have to wait till I come on the show? Is that
No,
is that
of
the
course
rule?
you can. Of course
Oh, okay. I don't want to step on like your thing. That's all.
No, I already know what you're gonna say. I saw the poll.
Is he not? Is he? I mean, in Donkey Kong Country, you could like jump in a barrel that was a plane. So is he not a pilot?
This is
Can he
what
not be considered a
Phil
pilot?
from Deleted Save said.
Okay.
Sorry, not to mention another podcast on his show, but
Shout out all of our friends. I love Phil. He's a great
yeah,
guy.
he is. He brought that in too. But no, he's definitely a biker.
Is that just because he uses the bike in Mario Kart, though?
See,
No, okay,
that
I
just
get
means
it.
everyone's a biker then.
I get it. Like, look, in game, he uses a surfboard. Yes, right. Undeniably, that is what happens in the.
We've never
Donkey
seen
Kong.
him surf, though. I mean, I haven't seen him
Oh
surf.
no, there's
He
footage
surfs,
out there.
Yeah,
Oh, there
definitely.
is. Okay.
Tropical Freeze. He surfs in, right?
Oh.
Yeah, but look at how that man dress. He wears jorts, right? Cut off jorts, and a bandana like tied a la pirate style on his head.
Yeah.
Sunglasses.
Pirate water activity surfing. That
Stop
man
it.
is ready to go get himself an ice cream cone on the beach as he surfs.
No,
Not on a bike.
He dresses like a biker. He is a biker in his soul.
I'm gonna reach out to whoever created the character, one of the rare people.
I'm so sorry, Eric.
If you get him on the podcast, that'd be amazing. No, it's okay.
That would be-
I
we're
love.
gonna get an answer.
Yeah.
Let's see if we could do it.
I could ask my wife's dad is he is 100% the definition of what you would call a Harley guy. He lives the brand. He is the brand. It is what it is his being. He goes on like 900-mile motorcycle trips. So when I go over there next time, I'll show him a picture of Funky Kong and I'll ask him like what he thinks. So maybe get some biker opinion in here.
I think I know his answer.
Because I originally thought of that because I remember like watching an episode on YouTube or something where it was like if you're trying to like do like Mario Kart Wii speed runs, it's like Funky Kong with the bike is like the best combo or one of the best combos you could possibly use or something like that. I remember reading about that, so that was in my brain. But monkey that
'Cause
flies
he's-
planes, surfs, and bikes. So
Because he's so good on the bike.
yes.
He's a natural. He's had tons of practice.
Well, maybe if they put him in Smash Bros. Infinite, he'll have surfboard style moves. So
Yeah.
or whatever the next one's gonna be when they eventually pull Sakurai out of retirement.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for telling me about the show. I want to shift to talking about you guys, everyone's favorite thing to talk about themselves, right? So I just wanted to ask you guys, you've told me a little bit about your journey with the show and a little bit about your gaming journey, but I really wanted to ask you guys, where did it all start? Where did your guys' gaming journey begin in your life? And what has gaming kind of meant to you in your life as you've grown up?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it pretty much started with the NES. My brother, he's 6 years older than me, but he was into all the video games, and he was the one who had the systems, and then would just like, okay, these are just systems that are in my house sometimes, because we grew up in separate houses. He subscribed to Nintendo Power, and I'm kicking myself because he subscribed at issue 1, and I kept them
man.
all. And then like I don't, God, I remember like the earliest one I think was the Castlevania one that I actually like had in possession.
Wow.
And then I just kept his entire collection and then subscribed myself. But then there were times where I stopped subscribing. So I had hundreds of these things. And then like they just got lost to time. So I am in Nintendo Power, which I know I've mentioned in our show. But anyway,
Published artist.
published artist, Brian. Yes. But yeah, so he kind of shaped my entire gaming library and my tastes. And I was all about Nintendo. So from NES, I just followed the Nintendo line all the way to GameCube. It wasn't until then that I started branching off into the other competitors, basically. But yeah, I had everything, the consoles, the Game Boys, everything up to that point. And, that's where it began, and now it's everywhere. Like whatever the good game is, I have everything that I can play pretty much everything on. So it's up in the air at that point. But yeah, gaming for me was Nintendo first and foremost. My best friend, when growing up, he had both, but like I feel like he was more of a Sega guy, so that's where I got a little of the Sonic the Hedgehog, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have that Nintendo magic, and that's really where it was at for me. So yeah, Nintendo on.
It's cool being an adult, isn't it?
It is.
Where you're like, look, I have all the games I ever want now.
I know.
Yeah.
It's too much.
That kid would look up at you and be like, damn, that is a cool dude.
Right?
He has all the latest games because you used to get one like for holidays like Christmas or your birthday and whatever pocket change you could scrape up through doing chores or whatever. So
well, that was one cool thing that happened to me when Pokemon came out. I was like, oh man, like I got a booster pack and these are so cool. And then my brother was just like, hey, do you want these two games? Like, I don't like these games. And it was Pokemon Red and Blue, like both of them.
Oh my God.
Which was crazy at the time.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I didn't need to have any friends, but yeah.
Just trade with yourself.
Exactly.
As long as you got an extra Game Boy and a link cable.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, my gaming journey began with an Apple IIe. That's the first thing I remember playing video games on. My mom had one, I think for work, but we also had games on it because back then they couldn't track what you did on your home computer because there was no such thing as that. Yeah. But I remember playing Frogger in this game Threshold on it, which is made by Online Systems, which ended up becoming Sierra, hence my affinity for Sierra games, which was also a big part of my childhood. It was like the only games I ever played on PC were LucasArts or Sierra games, those point-and-click adventure games. But yeah, no, I was predominantly NES, like all good American kids, and bad ones too. Went NES, SNES, et cetera, et cetera. I did have a friend who had a Master System. So I got to experience that as a kid, and eventually I had another friend who had a Genesis, and I kind of played it all via friend groups, but I personally always had the Nintendo console. Same thing, except I think I was a PlayStation 1 era, the 64 era is when I started really picking up on PlayStation games. Because I had a friend who had that, and I worked at a movie store at the time. Yes, I was of working age during the PlayStation 1 era. And it was cool, though. I rented the PlayStation and Metal Gear Solid, and I remember taking it home, and we played it for like 24 hours because we can't rent a memory card, so we couldn't save the game. So we had to play it straight through. Yeah. Which we did play it straight through. But yeah, so that's when I really started getting into PlayStation. For the next era, I had this thing, which I think a lot of gamers did. I didn't have unlimited funds, so I would always trade in my console for the next console, right? So I did have a GameCube during that generation, and I eventually traded in the GameCube to get the PlayStation 2. And, then the next generation, I think at one point, I owned all three of the systems. And now but not at the same time, right? Like trading one in to get the next kind of thing. And now I own all of them, and I can play whatever game I want, whenever I want, because nobody could tell me what to do because I'm a grown-ass man, and I love it.
Does have some of its advantages, despite the fact that it's an inevitable march of time.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, right.
It is what it is. You age.
Yeah.
You might have money, but you don't have time.
For as much as I bring up my age, I really couldn't care less. Like, yeah, we're all gonna age, dude, but like enjoy the ride,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I did the same thing too. I didn't trade in consoles, but there were a lot of I didn't understand at the time the value of what I had, and there were a lot of like PS1 games and PS2 games lost to the GameStop trade-in, which is a shame. If there's one thing I could do, I would go back in time and like slap my younger self and tell me just to keep everything.
Yep.
Because I had like a set of the original like 151 Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
that I sold like the entire deck
Yeah.
for like $5 at a garage sale,
Oh.
all of them, every single one. And I'm like, man, nowadays seeing how much those things were going for, like
I did the same thing about 5 years ago. I made about $400, so I was happy with that.
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's still like if I had waited to now, it would be even more. So
My wife has
had-
them all in a binder, actually.
Ooh,
so I definitely married into wealth here.
nice.
You did. You have your fallback plan if the economy like ever goes to town again. So
I think I've like eyed that binder on your shelf before, and I was like, are they going to part with these for X number of dollars? But I think you guys are smarter than that. So
I am now, but like you said, I agree. Everything I got rid of. I mean, I even remember going to, Funko Land.
Yo,
when,
Funko Land.
when they were selling like used SNES games and they just had them in like this white bin, like, hey, like here they are, they're a couple bucks a piece, and like,
right.
oh, I would love to go back in time and just like take that whole bin and buy it, because the amount of money you'd make now is astronomical.
Right. But the flip side of that is I would never get rid of anything and then I'd be a hoarder. And
True.
Yeah, so no, that's awesome. So it's not easy of all the games you guys have played over the years to pick some or pick just one that is your favorite. So do you guys have a handful that you can say are some of your favorites over the years that have formed emotional connections with you or just have stuck with you over the years? Anything like that?
go for it, Ryan.
Yeah, so I'll start. This is about to get kind of real and maybe a bit personal here. So I'm not trying to bring it down a notch, and I'm definitely not going for sympathy. But for me, it's Super Mario Brothers 3. It's I have a sister. I had a sister. She passed away about 7 years ago. Sorry, I'm not getting choked up. You are. But no, it's the game that I have the fondest memories of playing with her, like switching off and making it through the game. We spent like an entire summer playing just that game.
Wow.
And it's funny because like as much as I love video games, a huge part of my history playing them is tied to my sister. So I do feel like in some way, me continuing to play them is a way of like keeping that connection.
Absolutely. Wow.
My game is Chrono Trigger. I mean, I bring that up enough that I know Ryan knows that.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it definitely is that time and place to a certain extent. So yeah, I had that a similar connection, with my brother playing games. I loved watching him play, which was like such a strange concept. But then we have Twitch, and people love watching
right.
people play games all the time, and it always made sense to me because it's like, oh, I watched my brother play these games, and either like I was too young to like get the controls or something, or it was a violent video game that I loved to be privy to. But Chrono Trigger was one where I remember specifically he had said like, you're not going to beat this boss. Like there's no way. This boss is way too hard. You don't know what you're doing. And he would kind of rib me about, gaming and trying to get me going, and like, yeah, you can't use a guide, that's cheating, and really like put me on the straight and narrow for certain things like that. And I did beat that boss, and
He was like, get good.
Exactly. He was. Beat the boss. Felt super proud of that. And then just like continued and got all the different endings and had a great time with it. So yeah, Chrono Trigger means a lot to me for sure.
In line with what he's saying, the early Resident Evil games were like that for me, where I would play through them and have someone watching me. And it's like, yeah, that's funny. Like, I do sometimes think, why do people really watch other people play video games on stream? But like, yeah, we did it all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and those were very entertaining games to play, but they were also very entertaining to watch, right? To be like an armchair quarterback, like, oh, go get that thing, go around here, like watch out for the zombie, and then you get the cool cutscene and everything. So yeah.
Right. You'll both be disappointed with me because Chrono Trigger and Resident Evil are two things that have largely avoided me in my life. I feel ashamed, especially for as big as the RPG enthusiast I claim to be. To not play Chrono Trigger is a pretty bad mark on my end. So, but that is on my list to play as well too.
We all have our blind spots, man, right?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Yeah, I'm full of them.
Especially too how much I love Akira Toriyama and how much Dragon Ball had an influence on me growing up. To for me to not have played that is just kind of mind blowing.
I think that game is super easy to play today. It holds up really well. I think it's really easy to enjoy in 2022.
I'd like to revisit it myself. I feel like I haven't played it in decades. And, it might hit different now.
Might hit different. So, is there a specific era that you guys like, a specific era of video games that kind of speaks to you most, or you just kind of like playing whatever?
I mean, for me, it is the Super Nintendo. I think that was where it was those formative years for me, where that system had so many different games, so many different genres. I really got the games and tastes that I hold today, and those tend to be my favorites. You know, Super Mario World and Link to the Past and Super Metroid. I think those are Super Mario Kart. Man, like that was my first Mario Kart. I think that in hours played, like that is still the top Mario Kart for me. But yeah, that system. I mean, it same thing. Like it looks great today. It has a style to it. It was we got so many different characters out of it and continued franchises and those franchises are big today because of things like the Super Nintendo. So that's the one for me. As much fondness as I have for the N64, that is not, it does not hold up at all. That is never going to come back as something that people remember fondly, really. But yeah.
So yeah, for me, I'm gonna just take what Brian said and improve upon it in every possible way because it's the GameCube because it has Mario Sunshine, which is better than
yes.
So that's bad. I mean,
no,
yes,
no, and it has Double Dash, which is the best Mario Kart and better than the original by a long shot. It has Metroid Prime, which I personally enjoy better than Super Metroid. And no, I do think Wind Waker, right? Like, is my favorite Zelda. I just think the GameCube had made such an impact on me, and I felt like I could scream at people for not giving the system a chance because nobody else had one, and I'm like, dude, you don't get it. Like, look at this Resident Evil remake. Look at Metroid Prime. Like, these are some of the best games of all time on one place, and that's my honest opinion. I cannot believe the titles that came out for the GameCube and how good they were and how underappreciated they were. And still are to this day in many ways. Yeah, it's definitely the GameCube for me. But that era in general, I mean, you had the PlayStation 2, which has such an extensive library, and it like revolutionized games and genres in so many different ways. Grand Theft Auto 3, if we're talking just generation, I think there were all these concepts that were in like the N64, PS1 generation, and that next generation just took it and said like, look, it's not just concepts anymore. Like, these can be done well, and here's how. And yeah, it was
PS2
awesome.
had like zero impact on me. I don't know if it's just like I like Shadow of the Colossus, but
Twisted Metal Black.
It didn't do it for me.
I think that that's surprising because I feel like just the PS2 was so big at that time. It was just impossible to get away from. It was just so huge. The big thing too, which I don't think gets enough credit to, is it had that built-in DVD player, and at the time DVDs were just taking off. So like, of course you're gonna get a DVD player gaming combo. Like of course that's a no-brainer for the price point.
I think for me, I was stubborn. I was still like, GameCube is Nintendo. Like, why is everyone freaking out about this? So it was just me being stubborn at that time for sure.
I will agree. I think Double Dash is the best Mario Kart. I love that one's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, if it's not that, it's 8 Deluxe, like, right? Because that is like the best of everything.
For pure game, sure.
Yeah. Not as warm on Sunshine, but I appreciate Sunshine. I appreciate Sunshine for what it is. And
I don't appreciate Sunshine at all.
Well, I loved Mario Odyssey. I thought Odyssey is... depending on the day you catch me, I think it's probably the best Mario game for me personally. But having gone back and played Sunshine after that, it's easy to see like Sunshine was critical to where Mario went after that. Like it's such an important game in history. It doesn't get enough credit that it deserves for sure. I just think at that era, the PS2 was just so huge. Like the PS2 and Halo, I feel really just kind of overshadowed what the GameCube was because, that was all people talked about was the PS2. And then this little game came along called Halo, and that just, that blew up. I mean, it didn't translate to like Xbox beating the PlayStation 2, but that dominated the conversation when it came out for sure.
I
and I agree.
I just want to let you know I appreciate your pun too, that you're not that warm on Sunshine. I like it.
Hey, sometimes I make accidental puns and they're pretty great. So yeah, but I agree too. When I think of video games, like just in general, when I just think of the term video games, the Super Nintendo is what comes to mind for sure. Just that art style, like you said, you nailed it, is so distinct. Not easy to describe, but when you tell somebody it's like the Super Nintendo art style, you immediately can picture it. Like those games all had that distinct flavor of what those games were like at that time. So yeah, just kind of add in some of those things there. Speaking of our friend Nintendo, I just wanted to touch base. You guys put out last week, or I think it'll be 2 weeks ago when this episode comes out. Nintendo not getting such positive light in the news right now. But your last episode was very inspiring. One, because it's something I've tried to preach on my show, is that at the end of the day, these companies are corporations and they're trying to make money. We can like the things that they put out, but that should not shield them from criticism when they make mistakes. Because if you love something, you should be able to criticize it intelligently. I firmly believe that. So talking about what you guys were talking about with Nintendo, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, because I talk with a lot of other podcasters about this. What are your thoughts on the current state and the current direction of kind of the industry as a whole, including, not limited to Nintendo, but including Nintendo as well?
I will say, do you think Nintendo is getting bad press right now? Because I think Nintendo's getting great press, and that's why I really wanted to do the episode on especially after that Direct. Everybody was so hype and especially with Arceus, and I'm like, wait, these are problems, not not good things, right?
Right. I felt like the press was negative because, and maybe it's just the people I follow on Twitter, the closing of the Wii U and 3DS eShops was a really big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that I'm starting to think about things, especially from a video game history preservation standpoint, that's just a devastating blow to being able to go back and play these old games. So, of course, Nintendo comes out with a Direct and announces a new Pokemon, and of course, everyone just forgets about everything because it's Pokemon. But I just felt like, or at least in my echo chamber that I built for myself on Twitter, that the losing the Wii U and the 3DS eShops was a big deal, and that people were really upset about that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I was not thinking of that, so you're 100% correct. Actually, you did an episode with the Side Questing podcast about game preservation a while back. And I think I had an opposite take than you. I'm like, man, whatever, video games move on. They might not be there in the future, but who's really playing these games anyway? I wish I could slap that man in the face. And that was less than a year ago, because there is a limit to that, right? I do think the game you want available in this digital age is not always going to be available digitally, right? Sometimes you might have to buck up, buy that SNES, and get the game if that's how you want to. If you want it, but I do think that some of the things being done by Nintendo as far as keeping them out of libraries and learning institutions, that's terrible. That is the worst possible thing you could do for game preservation. And
well, they kind of don't care about their own history at that point, which is so bizarre.
Or they want to keep it to themselves and monetize it in some way, regardless of who's on the other end of that, which I think is wrong. But they're not doing that, and I think that's what Brian was alluding to, is that they want they want to have the rights, they want to own everything, they don't want anybody touching it, but they're not doing anything with it, and that's extremely frustrating. As far as the video game industry as a whole, I think I kind of said earlier, there are those dark parts to it, and I think we are in a time where more and more of those are coming to light, and that is a very good thing. The Activision Blizzard, the Ubisoft, everything, all these sexual misconduct allegations, all of that. It is a great thing that we are hearing about it, because we can't fool ourselves to think it's only happening now. It has probably happened for decades within this industry, and we are now hearing about it, which is better than what it was in the past.
Absolutely.
I think there are things that are becoming less and less socially acceptable, and rightfully so. Something like that should never be tolerated, and I think it's good that it's finally coming to light and people are damning companies for it. I think that is excellent. Yeah, obviously I want to continue to enjoy video games, but there are limits to that. I love games. I'm very passionate about them. There are games I will not touch because of who puts them out now, and it's unfortunate. But like that's the kind of world we live in. A lot of people say you can't consume ethically in a capitalist society, but we could try. You know, we really can put our best effort forward and use the knowledge that we have to make good decisions on our own personal beliefs, and I do try to do that.
Microsoft really hopes that you will reconsider your Activision Blizzard stance when the ink dries on that contract.
I'm sure they don't care anything about me as the individual, but the power in a capitalist society is always with the consumer. The problem is you have to find a way to get all those consumers to think and act together.
Yeah.
I would like Bobby to be gone before I reconsider that for sure. That's interesting that you say that because I put out, Tom and I talked about that when it happened, and I very passionately said that as consumers, we had the power to vote with our wallet. And the flip side of that argument is, there are definitely terrible, terrible people at Activision Blizzard, but a majority of the people there are good people and are just honest, hardworking, trying to take home a wage and take care of their families. So it's difficult because like I want to support these people in the way that I can, like any way that I can, but like I don't want to hurt the company and like potentially have them lose their jobs. So that was kind of I have found myself voting with the power of my wallet, and I haven't bought anything Activision Blizzard since then. But I just that sucks that it's such like a gun to their head kind of thing where it's like, well, if you don't give us money, then you're just going to hurt the employees because the higher up terrible people will ultimately be safe and the lower people are always the first people to go.
It's unfortunate. But yeah, I agree. There are probably people in those situations, but I think that's also a way people get you to continue to spend money on corrupt companies.
Right.
Also true. It could be a manipulation thing as well. So.
The one thing about that is whenever these studios do fold, or there's been countless times where there's misconduct and a studio folds, the outpouring of support from other studios, be it other big companies or independent studios even, they're like, hey, come work for us. We need these developers, these artists. And that's
formation of new studios too.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of the times they'll just make their own, and that's always really cool to see when that happens.
Right. It's more often than not that good things come out of terrible situations. So that is good to see.
It definitely feels like we're in a state with the big three where everyone has their own strengths and they're playing to those and they're staying in their own lane. But I think we're going to be coming to a head at a certain point. We hit these points where like everyone gets homogenized with like online. Okay, Xbox is first and foremost. We have Xbox Live, and then the others kind of follow and do the same thing. We have motion controls here with the Nintendo Wii. Everyone kind of follows and does the same thing. I think right now we're getting to that point where streaming seems like it's gonna be a big thing. Nintendo's says like, yeah, you can have these N64 games if you give us $80 a year or 50, whatever. Xbox has been doing that with the Game Pass, and we're on the precipice of Spartacus with Sony. So, we're about to see a lot of things unfold, and some people are going to hate that. They want their physical media. They never want to go digital, and I can understand that. I can understand, the benefits to that. But when we hear about things like Nintendo getting rid of that eShop, it is playing into like, okay, well, we don't really care if that happens because we can just get you to buy these games all over again ad infinitum. So it's a weird place in time. I feel like as a kid going to Blockbuster and renting one game for like $8, and then looking at what I have now, it's crazy the amount of games that you get for $80 a year or $15 a month. So it's a weird place that we're finding ourselves in. We're just consuming games in a completely different way.
It's true. Good point, man.
Yeah, that is a great point. And like you said too, despite the fact that people will be mad that they want to cling to their physical media. I feel like the same thing kind of happened when, PlayStation 1 came out with, games on CDs. And everyone was all like, oh, well, cartridges will never go away and cartridges will always be a thing. And like the industry moved on without the cartridge people. Sure. So the industry is going to keep moving.
Nintendo.
Yeah, right. Now you just have little like SD cards that taste really bad. Not that not that anyone's tasting them, but
well, even the music industry. I mean, that's what's going to happen. We
right.
Okay, choice is the best thing. It's good to have the physical and the digital. That's the ideal situation. But when Nintendo has digital only games and they take away the digital only store, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
So we got to solve this. Someone needs to.
Yeah. I definitely think we're at the, and this is something I mentioned on, not to promote my old show, the Side Questing podcast. I did a State of the Union or State of the Industry, not thinking of politics because that just happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did a State of the Industry episode after E3 last year. And I said that I felt like this was even before the Activision Blizzard deal happened. I felt like we were coming up to like the most significant shakeup in the gaming industry since I felt like the Xbox came out and the Dreamcast failed, because we're transitioning to this new way of consuming media, right? Streaming is becoming like the way you do everything. And I coined it before all the major publications. I said it's not a console war anymore, it's a content war. That's where we're going off. And I have the receipts. I coined it 6 months before. So take that, IGN. But yeah, I do think, and when there are big shakeups in the gaming industry is when other people can get in. And, the Dreamcast failing and the shakeups of the early 2000s allowed Xbox to get in. Now we're seeing the move to cloud-based and to streaming, and Google and Amazon are trying to get in. So I think, the big shakeups are when people can get their foot in the door and take a piece of the pie. And I definitely think we're on the precipice of that, or like it's already begun. So that's just kind of where I feel.
Google's trying to leave and Amazon's trying to come in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then Netflix is just gonna be like boom and just like flatten both of them.
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have the cash to do it. If they could figure out how to make games.
Yeah,
it's going up by $1 again this year. So
I don't pay. Yeah, I'm like part of a group. Hive Mind. We all use the same Netflix account.
Yeah,
nice.
my dad pays for it. I just give him a couple bucks every month, and we all share the family. So,
wow.
Exactly.
But when you think about that, that's crazy. When people was like, "Oh, it's just $1," but if you multiply that $1 times the number of people that pay for it every month times 12 months, like that's a ton of money. That's so much money.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think about. Which is
everyone's
freaking out about Game Pass going up too, and same type
hasn't
of thing
happened
there.
Yet though.
Not yet. It's still a great value, but they just spent a lot of money the last year, so we'll have to see.
Plus, all it would take is Sony to come out and have a higher price point.
No, totally. They would jump and match that instantly. I bet
that's true. But I think that's a good point too. I think everyone's kind of settled into like doing their own thing. Microsoft's trying to be the every person. Sony is trying to focus on really high end storytelling experiences, and Nintendo just whatever it is that Nintendo does, they're still doing it. Yeah. So,
I mean, they've earned that right. Like as much as we might hate aspects of it, they are allowed to do that.
They do, and financially they can too, because they could take losses for 50 years and still be fine. Right. So, they just have that much money saved up. So, if you hate Nintendo, they're not going anywhere for at least 50 years. So, unless they get bought, which that would be insane. So, well, guys, I've reached the time limit. I've reached the end of my notes. So I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was an incredible experience. I was so excited when I formulated this idea to have. I'm like, Brian and Ryan is going to be like one of my favorite episodes to get them on. So
You're just
thank you guys
saying
so much.
that.
No, it's 100%. Yeah, not to get emotional, but like I look up to what you guys do. It inspires me to make my show better, and it inspires me to think about games differently than I would have otherwise. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Very happy listening to your new show. I've already heard the first 2 episodes. Well, 3 episodes if you count 0.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's great, man. I can't express how happy I am to be a part of it, and I'm sure Brian can speak for himself.
No, really, the pleasure is ours. This has been an incredible experience. We're excited to see where the Unlockables goes from here. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the content so far.
The plan is to do like 40 episodes and then go on hiatus again and then start a new show. And it'll just be the cycle for forever until I have like 30 podcasts. So
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, before we go, do you guys want to plug all your social media, your show and stuff, and anything else you guys have been doing that's just cool?
Sure.
Go for it.
Should I take it away, Brian?
Yeah, I mean www.
Instagram.com/. So we're on Instagram actually as Listoff Podcast, on Twitter as Listoff_podcast. We also are anywhere you get your podcasts. The name is Listoff. We have a little logo with a spaceship. It's a moon. It says with Brian and Ryan.
There are other Listoffs, so avoid them.
Right. There was a Listoff that came after us. And it's got
How dare they?
If you see a Listoff with a red logo, know that they are the imposters. Super sus.
Red for enemy.
Yeah, it's like I'm floored. But hey, like flattery and all that mimicry. I don't know. There's a quote somewhere in there, right? But then we are also, I started streaming again on Twitch. I don't have a set schedule. I do it whenever I feel like it. But if you want to drop me a follow, that'd be cool. Listoff Podcast on Twitch. We have merch too, but we won't show you our merch on here. But are we going to give you a link tree? I'm sorry. That might be easiest than me. I don't even say this on our own show. I literally never talk about our social links. Like we just forget every episode and we now just don't do it.
Yeah, so, you can give me the link tree. I'll link all the stuff in the episode description, obviously. Cool. For whatever reason, Anchor doesn't like to link trees in the episode notes, which is weird. But yeah, I'll link all you guys' stuff. And of course, I will link to the store because you should definitely pick up some merch. Absolutely. Go out and buy all the merch, 100%.
I probably shouldn't even have mentioned that on your show.
We're on the YouTubes as well.
Oh, yeah. God. Yeah. Sorry, Brian. Brian does all the YouTube video editing.
I toil away every week.
Awesome job. I know.
The videos are fantastic.
I'm late on this week.
Awesome.
But yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot to mention it because I don't do it, Brian. It was no slight.
I know.
Okay.
And listen, you can come on my show and shill anything you want anytime. Like if you wanted to come on and like sell snake oil for like an hour and a half, like just go for it. Like I don't care.
Vice versa, man. You're always welcome on our show. We're gonna have to come up with a list for you to come back on.
I've been thinking about it, so maybe I'll shoot you some ideas
for sure.
So.
Yeah, this is why we never run out of ideas.
Exactly. Yeah, super excited to come back on. I did which one did I do with you guys?
It?
Oh, Jesus.
This is the sequels, right?
Yeah,
the sequels. I think
yes,
you're right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And that was still to this day one of my favorite experiences podcasting. So yeah, whenever you call up, I will definitely come on again for sure.
Great.
So. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you to everybody listening. Remember to take care of yourselves, especially in these trying times, and have a good night, day, depending on when you're listening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good time.
Have a good time. Bye.
Bye.